Back to school begins with Los Midway just one day. That's on Monday. And with the start of this happening, I thought it might be a great time to talk about bus drivers riding the bus. You know, school bus safety. Now, in just a little bit, we showed you this. We showed you this during our season 6, when this bus driver was getting angry at some point. We'll hear from her in just a minute. But if you go to YouTube and look up all these bus drivers getting mad, here's one of the examples.
Tomorrow, that y'all cannot behave. You don't want that to happen? Okay. So, from this day on, listen. No more grouping on the bus. Everybody will get to their seats and sit down and remain seated. Hands to yourselves. If you cannot do that, I will reassign your seats. Also, I am still getting reports of somebody saying bad words. That needs to stop. Nobody should be saying words, the B word, or an F word, or an S word, anything like that. I think everybody knows what that I was talking about. You'll need to stop it. I do not want to hear anybody more reports of somebody saying those words. You understand me? Voices should be indoor classroom voice next to nothing.
And from a common sense perspective, I can't believe this was, first of all, I can't believe this was recorded from a child's cell phone. A child. But going back to what happened here, I mean, before we move on to this other one, let me say this. You shouldn't be doing this. Nobody should be recording on a school bus, since it is made by the school district and is made from our tax dollars. You shouldn't be recording, you should not be video or audio taping a school employee. Period. But common sense is to tell you, when the bus driver tells you to do something, you do it. There's often times when bus drivers tell you to get off the bus. Take a look.
Crisis moment. Oh my God, you don't sit, we don't move. Sit on the seat. Now, we're not on the seat. Have your feet on the seat. I'm not going to tell you again. You sit in that seat and you don't move. You keep your mouth shut. If that's not good, I will get security on this bus and you will walk home. Got it? Tell me you hear me. I want to hear it. Tell me. This is... I can hear you. Now turn the bus. You get off the bus.
You get off the bus. Alright. You shouldn't talk to a bus driver like that. When your bus driver tells you to do something, you do it. Oh, I think this is the one I was going to show you.
I am writing you.
No, what? I was surprised to see if it was the one that I was going to show you, but let me tell you, there are times to where if you don't do what the bus driver tells you to do, you will be written up. Period. There's no excuse. I mean,
Tomorrow, that y'all cannot behave.
sorry. I've never acted up in the school bus or acted out. I never. There were many times where I used my phone on the bus. I'm gonna tell you a short story. Then we're gonna go to break. This is a long story. So a friend of mine, who we used to go to school together, we on the bus, and when I got my first cell phone, I told my friend about it, and we would often use the phone on the bus, and we would sit in the back of the cafeteria where no one would catch us. Sophomore year comes. I told him no, phones are prohibited on the bus. ER started arguing with me, so this and this. So he took my phone, and he was all like, I'm going to give it back to you at lunch. I'm like, I can't, I need it. So, long story short, I went to the principal's office, reported it, and the principal was all like, are students allowed to use their phones on the bus? She's like, and the security person was like, I don't know. And I just want to say, please, it's in the code, it's in the handbook, page 15. This was during the sophomore year 2013, 2014. So, that's the story of it. Still to come, school safety, the number one priority when kids go back to school. But coming up next, there's more there's more of these videos about bus drivers getting mad, including one who was arrested 8 years ago, along with a student. A very disturbing video. A very disturbing video that I would not want anyone to see. Also, a bus driver gets arrested and accused of going inside a student's house without permission. Seems like a breaking and entering case. Stay with us. Welcome back. As we start to continue our back to school month, I think it's a perfect time to talk about riding the bus. Now, when you're riding the bus, you need to understand safety rules. You need to stay in your seat. Most school buses that I've seen or sat in do not have seat belts. So everyone's like willing to stand up, play around, talk to their friends. No. You need to stay seated. Every bus needs to be equipped with seat belts. If the bus does not have one, do not ride on it. With the exception of the RTA, by the way, the RTA has made special buses to where they have seat belts where you can choose to buckle up or not buckle up. But putting on a seatbelt is the law. But that's some of what we're talking about. We're talking about the bus drivers who got mad. And those are the ones that you want to listen to. In some cases, they may say to you, if you don't do what you're being told, I'm going to write you up. And in some cases, after 3 suspensions, you're off the bus permanently for the rest of the year. That's what happens in some cases. Here's a video clip from Caitlin, which had a lot of views. And it showed what would happen if they don't listen to the bus driver. And he was being firm. According to the comments, one person said he was just being firm and not yelling. Take a look.
You don't understand trying to drive this bus and all that little congestion right there on these roadways are incredibly stressful and dangerous. You guys are so obnoxious. Not all of you, but you know who you are. You're so obnoxious and distracting to me. It's going to cause an accident. So listen, starting on Monday, when we come back from fall break, these 6 rows will be dispersed throughout this bus. And the ones that are really the troublemakers back here that are creating all the chaos, and you know who you are, because I'm looking right at you, you're going to be sitting in the very front seat where Mason's sitting right now for the rest of the year. Not 3 days or 4 days. I've said this every day since school has started. We're like 8 weeks, 9 weeks into the school year. It's ridiculous. Hey, you know what? The immaturity is shining, Matthew. I'm pleading with you every day to behave. I'm not tolerating it anymore. One more outburst from your mouth, I'll be calling your parents, and you won't be riding this bus. You'll be suspended. Just like yesterday, I don't know who took her glasses off, but a few days before that, one of you guys took a phone from her, and that person was suspended from riding the bus. I'm not fooling around with you guys. I'm going to start calling parents, and I'm going to start writing you up, and I'm going to get you suspended off this bus. And after 3 suspensions, you're off this bus permanently for a year. Your mama's going to take you to school. I don't care. It's too distracting and too dangerous. I've never had a group behave so disrespectful. Yeah, go ahead and roll comments that are very disrespectful when somebody's talking to you. I'm sure your parents appreciate that.
Before we get to the common sense of this video, this is from one person. He's not yelling, he's just being firm. It's in the voice. Your high-pitched voice is like, that is really fantastic. That's encouraging, that's praise. That is not acceptable. That's firm. He's being too firm with the kids. They probably aren't going to know right and wrong. Pre-teens. And looking at all these comments, I mean, yeah, I agree. One person said, yeah, I applaud him for standing up for himself. Props to the bus driver. Now, common sense. Like I said when we talked about this 6 years ago, riding the bus is a privilege, not a right. And you all may say, well, my mom and dad paid for me to ride the bus. My mom and dad paid for free transportation. Yes, we hear that phrase all the damn time. And we honestly would believe that. But the bus driver has the right to write you up and remove you from the bus. And after 3 suspensions, you're off the bus permanently for the rest of the year. Not 3 days, not 5 days, the rest of the year. You come back on the bus, it's like, weren't you suspended? Weren't you not allowed on the bus? Yeah, but my mom talked with the principal. Well, it doesn't matter. Y'all may say, well, my mom and dad pay for transportation. I mean, he's just doing his job, making sure the kids are in line. And oftentimes it's like this example right here. This student right here, he flipped out because he was being asked to move. They were going to take him back. They were going to take them back to school because he refused to listen. Now at that point in time, he should have been. They could have just taken him back to school. Yes, that's true. Like in one instance, there was this one video, which I showed you. There was this one video too where one kid was acting up, and they drove him back to the school, and he got off the bus yelling out profanity and all that stuff. But he should have learned his lesson. All buses are a privilege, not a right. That's all the saying of the bus drivers. There are often times where bus drivers can be arrested for doing wrongful things. Let's take a look at one bus driver who was arrested, at a bus driver and a student who was arrested. Keep in mind, there was 2 arrests happening. One was for the bus driver, the suspended bus driver, and one was for the student who caused the fight. Now, the video you're about to see is very disturbing to watch. But as you watch, pay attention to see who's in the right and who's in the wrong. So was the bus driver in the right or was the student in the wrong? You be the judge. Take a look.
Obvious from the outset that something's up with bus driver Alicia Miller. Listen to how she responds as students take too long boarding the bus.
Hello? If you're getting on, come on. I need to get down the road.
A student apparently responding to her tone makes a remark. Not clear what he said, but it obviously ticked her off.
Who you talking to? Get off my bus. I ain't got time to be. Oh, get out. Get out. Run your mouth. Run your mouth.
Run your mouth.
What you say?
I said, run your mouth. You're sure talking very,
Girl, get your little butt out of here, girl, before you get smacked.
Are you gonna smack me?
I will.
Before long, the driver is up and out of her seat.
Get off the bus.
You gonna smack me? You gonna smack me?
You think I won't? You think I won't?
No, what's up? You gonna smack me?
Cell phone video shows what happened outside the bus as other students jump in. The bus driver eventually gets free and goes back into the bus, but she still continues to engage.
Come on.
But even after the fight is over, her actions and remarks are enough to raise eyebrows. Twice, she talks about killing the student and even brandishes what looked like a crowbar at one point.
Somebody better hurry up because I'm about to murder this nigga.
But then, as officers show up, she puts the item out of view. Now she's off the job, facing a misdemeanor assault and battery charge, with the union standing behind her.
Aside from this unfortunate incident, she does an excellent job. You know, she's a good person.
Now the union is making it clear that they're not condoning what she did. That driver is on suspension from her job here at the Rapid. Though the case remains under investigation, that teen girl has been charged as well with allegedly being a public disturbance. Brian and Sue.
All right, Leon. And have we reached out to both parties there, the driver and the girl involved?
Yeah, I spoke with the driver's husband today. He says that she doesn't want to talk about this anymore. Interesting to note, though, that it was the driver and her family that actually contacted us to tell us about this situation, outraged about what had happened on that bus. But very interesting situation. The school obviously disappointed about what happened, and now it's going through the legal process. Brian and Sue.
All right. Leon Hendricks, thank you for that.
I'm glad it's going through the legal process. I really should. Come up next. This bus driver was arrested, and this bus driver was arrested, but accused of going inside a student's home without permission. Now, why would that happen? But first, common sense alert. You should be doing that. When I was in school, whoever threw the first punch got sent to SDGC, Student Discipline Guidance Center, right across the street. That was to where you would sit there and do your work. Whoever threw the first punch went to SDGC. That's what happened. But one person was suspended and arrested, and the other person was a juvenile for being a public disturbance. She should have just shut her mouth. She just said, I said, you're taking too long. I'm sorry. She just got off the bus. She should have just done what she was told and walked off the bus. If that had happened, that video would not exist. It would not exist. Stay with us. Now a little something that's very disturbing and I do not want anyone to watch. Can you ever imagine your bus driver dropping you off and all of a sudden he or she makes an unannounced visit? What if you realize as a parent that you realize this and all of a sudden you call the police and have her ass arrested for trespassing? Well, one mother decided to do this and you're about to hear this story. Watch.
Extremely disturbing. Now, we started looking to this case when Cassie Sia, the mom, posted it on Facebook, and she tells me that today she tells me today that when bus driver went inside her house unannounced and began looking around. Now, this is even more disturbing. Now, just a few hours ago, that mom showed us inside her home where she came face to face with that bus driver Monday when she said he came in there unannounced again, shut the door behind him. She says he was wearing a kilt and some black gloves, and then she was stunned by what happened next when she started questioning him about his whereabouts.
He said, I'm a bus driver. Okay, it's not even a school week. Why are you here? Did something happen on the bus? No, I thought you wanted to meet me.
Now, she told me right after that bus driver quickly left the home, but she says this wasn't the first time he did this. She says after questioning her daughter and her son, she realized that he had visited the home previously and attempted to Now, of course, we are definitely looking into this, and we were also told that bus driver was arrested and is now behind bars. Now, we're waiting to get more information about what happens next to him, and we'll, of course, bring you those updates in our 6 o'clock show. Sending it back to you guys live.
Okay. Now, here's a common sense thing. It's Portuguese ingenuity. What you need to do, I mean, if you have a bus driver, if breaking and entering is happening, you ought to call the police. And he's like, what's going on? He's like, I'm a bus driver. If you work for the school, someone wants to come into your house and do something like this, it shouldn't be happening. It should not be happening. I'm glad that person was in jail and started realizing this was inappropriate. It was very, very inappropriate.
Thank you.
Very inappropriate. Alright, one more story here. They may realize during our 6th season, we focused in on one bus driver who was angry. Started yelling at kids. This person this was like 4 months ago. Take a look at this. Take a look at a short video of this.
God damn it! How much more do you expect me to take? Give me the perfume.
No, I didn't. I didn't do anything.
I can
They know
freaking smell
I
it.
didn't do anything. I didn't spray anything.
Sick of you. I'm sick of all of this. I'm done with it. I'm gonna start kicking some serious ass. Do you hear me? Yes. My foot's gonna be so far up your goddamn ass, gonna dangle at your goddamn nose. I'm done with you. That phone in your bag now. You.
Okay, that's enough. Now, after that video was posted, this bus driver that you see right here is told her side of the story. Take a look.
How much more do you think anybody can freaking take? Shut your mouth. I don't want to hear another word out of your mouth.
You have likely seen that viral video of an Amherst bus driver yelling at students. Tonight, we're hearing her side of the story. She spoke with our Bree Buckley about the moments leading up to what you saw in that video. And Bree, what did she tell you?
Well, Russ, first off, she says the last couple days have been tough and upsetting. She's been a bus driver for 15 years in different parts of the country, about 2 years here at Amherst. She tells me she misses the kids she drove every day, calling the majority of them smart and wonderful. As for the support, well, that's been a shock for her.
How much more do you think anybody can freaking take?
This video has been viewed on TikTok nearly 3 million times.
Sick of you. I'm sick of all of this. I'm done with it. I'm gonna start kicking some serious.
Now Amherst bus driver Jackie Miller is sharing what you don't see in the video.
That particular day was challenging, to say the very least, because it started the minute this core group of students had gotten on the bus.
She says a group of kids on her bus constantly act out, purposefully instigating her for the last couple of years, and she finally had enough.
I'm sorry the way this went down. I truly am. I do apologize for my actions on that day, but I won't take it back.
She tells me she suffers from asthma and strong fragrances trigger her attacks. One student yelled that another had sprayed perfume, which led to what you see.
I didn't spray anything.
I'm allergic to this.
This after she tells me she just had an attack last month.
And she sprayed perfume on the bus, and I had a horrible asthma attack. I had stopped the bus, grab my inhaler, and just try and get my lungs to open up again. I had all the kids open up all the windows, but they know this.
Amid a nationwide bus driver shortage, Jackie says this is partially why.
This is a plight of all bus drivers. We are treated in the worst possible sense of the word.
My foot's gonna be so far up your out your nose.
That saying now on a t-shirt sold by Mistakes on the Leg Apparel Company in Vermilion.
We all kind of just felt for her in that moment. Like, we've all had bad days. We've all gone through hardships, and we just kind of, I think our hearts just kind of bled for her.
Shop owner Jackie Adkins donating $5 of each t-shirt sale to the bus driver, since she's now without a job after resigning, as support from a GoFundMe page started for her continues to soar.
There's just no words to say how grateful that I am, for the people that have supported me.
I spoke to the Amherst superintendent tonight. He tells me multiple students have been disciplined following this incident, though he couldn't give specifics on how many, what they're being disciplined for, or how. As for Jackie, she hopes to be a bus driver again soon. She tells me she drove disabled adults for years in Cleveland, and Russ, she hopes to get back to something like that.
Certainly. Okay, Bree Buckley, thank you.
Of course.
What a great story. And it was resignation and a great donation. Alright. Up next, it's all about the school safety here. What you need to know, what you need to understand during the school year. Stay with us. Let's make this short here. School safety should have been the number one thing we should have talked about for Back to School Month. But I feel like truancy and bullying should all be at number one, because a lot of times we see kids skipping class and they don't actually care. What my goal is to do is to make sure to get kids back into school. Because let me tell you something, the first offense is truancy. If your child does not go to school, they could be wound up in juvenile court doing something different. Shoplifting, assault, stealing, possession of drugs. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Start realizing this. I mean, your child will be sitting at home one day eating popcorn, while all of a sudden they're breaking into cars, breaking into houses, doing drugs. That's why truancy was created, to prevent this from happening. But school safety has to be this. I mean, look, we're not going to go through all the safety drills. We're going to go through some of the safety drills. I'm not going to show you like do's and don'ts and whatever, because we've already done that in one instance. So that's why I'm going to make this short here. But fire drills. When that fire alarm goes off, beep, 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 line up, go out the door, and when that alarm goes off, I'm not good. Let's go. You go back in the classroom. Lockdown drills. It's like this. You find a corner. You block the doors. And you head down. You be quiet. That's it. These lockdown drills are very important. I mean, schools are, because of all these lockdowns, we had a bunch of school threats happening. And if you remember from our previous episodes of the show, we focused on a bunch of school threats. That's to where people just go on social media and say, I'm going to go blow up the school or whatever. But school threats are basically is an issue here. And throughout the 6 years of this broadcast, that's what we're focusing on. I mean, no one ever knew. There's a law. There's a law talking about this. And look, here's one from 6 days ago. There were 2 threats happening at King Folks Middle School, which was Monday morning. And one school will have a zero tolerance for all threats. Now, we've gotten rid of zero tolerance policies for all schools when it was like back to where you bring like a pen can be a weapon. Yeah, that's on our suspended from schools episode. That's going to happen on a Wednesday. But this is a makeup episode for Friday. Take a look.
So some school districts are trying to nip growing problems in the bud before students head back to class. From drugs and vaping to threats of mass violence. News 2's Tori Gessner explains how a new state law changes the punishment for students who break the rules.
Turn on the news, and it might feel like deja vu.
Those are just some of the multiple school districts threatened across Tennessee just today.
From Montgomery County to Portland, plus Murray and Davidson counties, school threats are on the rise across the nation, according to the Educators School Safety Network. The group recorded nearly 450 false threats in the U.S. this past school year.
It's an issue, especially with social media.
In Tennessee, it's now considered a zero-tolerance offense, thanks to a state law that went into effect July 1st. If a student is caught making a threat of mass violence, they'll be expelled for a year.
I think what we're doing is really sending a message that says, hey, this is not a joke, this is not a joking matter, so don't do this.
In Kentucky, Christian County school officials are cracking down on another issue in the classroom: vaping. Last school year, 255 students were caught with vapes containing nicotine, and more than 100 were caught with vapes containing controlled substances.
It's not just a Christian County problem, it's a problem for all schools, unfortunately, and we've had students bringing them in and all kinds of ways. Parents don't even maybe realize sometimes that their kids are vaping because they're not doing it at home, sitting at the kitchen table. They're vaping at school, unfortunately.
Now, it'll be considered a zero-tolerance offense, which according to district policy could result in criminal charges if students rack up enough violations. The law and the new rule hoping to deter problems plaguing schools.
There is not one silver bullet that this is going to take care of all of it. So it's really a little bit here, a little bit here. And hopefully this takes a little bite out of that. And I think that's important.
The law does give superintendents the power to choose other consequences for threats and drugs on a case-by-case basis. The Wilson County School Board is one of the first districts set to vote on this change in their policy to comply with the law. That vote will happen tonight.
Wow. I think this mayor raised some common sense. There we go. We have some common sense. Bring up the party hats. We have common sense. There we go. Zero tolerance policies. We expel students from making threats. Bam. Then we'll throw them in jail. Vaping. Lots of offenses. We'll expel them. Bam. We'll throw them in jail. That's it. That's the answer. That's the answer right there. This is the answer. Yes. Yes. We have answers. Never in the 6 years we've done Back to School Month has there ever been a freaking answer. And this is the answer right here. Yes. Yes. That makes me very happy. Up next, some school janitors from Steve Kroft. Stay with us. I'm very happy. Now, here's a question for you. Can you ever imagine a job that pays nearly double the national average? A job where virtually anyone can just be on the payroll if you can get a friend across town to put him on his or hers. If it sounds like you can clear up on the job, then you'd be absolutely right. If you apply to New York City's Board of Education or any other school education, just tell them, hey, I want to be a school custodian. Listen to Steve Kroft. Here's Steve Kroft.
Cleaning up as a New York City school custodian doesn't mean pushing a broom. Custodians are more like building superintendents than janitors. They're responsible for keeping the school well-maintained and clean. They hire their own staff, and thanks to the work rules, even they don't have to sweep very often. New York City school custodians have a list of perks, pay, and privileges that stuns almost anyone that's visited the rundown, dirty schools that make up much of the system. This is Erasmus Hall in Brooklyn, a building where 3,000 students try to get a high school education. The Board of Education didn't want 60 Minutes taping in its school corridors, but the president of the Erasmus Hall Parents Association offered to take us and our concealed camera on a tour. Up the dirty stairwells and down hallways covered with graffiti.
This is like 32 miles of the New York subway.
There was peeling paint everywhere and broken drinking fountains.
We've only got 2 water fountains operating in the school.
Then we went into the bathrooms.
There's absolutely no privacy and no facilities for cleaning yourself up appropriately.
And when the sights didn't shock you, the odors did.
What is the smell?
We have apparently some sewage leak underground. unbelievable. It's like living in a cesspool.
And everywhere, broken windows.
How long have these windows been broken?
The windows have been broken for weeks.
No one is claiming it's easy to maintain old and long neglected schools, but almost everyone we talked to thought school custodians weren't doing the job as well as they should.
Tell me about Mr. White, the custodian. Is he ever here?
Mr. White, as I know it, and I'm here approximately every day, is here maybe a few hours a day. I've even had cleaners complain that he's seldom on the premises.
On the day we waited to see Mr. White, it was after 2 p.m. when he pulled up to the school gate. He was gone by 4:15. None of this is a surprise to John Fager, chairman of the Citywide Parents Coalition. He began to get interested in the custodial system 8 years ago, when the principal of his children's school called to tell him that the cafeteria was so filthy it had been cited for a health code violation.
Can you imagine 1,000 kids eating in a small cafeteria? By the end of the week, if you only scrub it once a week.
They only have to scrub it once a week?
They only scrub the cafeteria floor once a week.
How often do they have to clean the classrooms?
Every other day.
Every other day?
Every other day.
How often do they have to mop the floors?
They mop 3 times a year.
You're kidding.
No, they mop and wax 3 times a year. It's a basic sweeping. That's what goes on every other day.
What do they do the rest of the time?
No one really knows.
New York School's Chancellor Joe Fernandez is the latest in a long list of reformers who have tried to sweep away a bizarre set of contract regulations and work rules that allows the city school custodians to clean up all the way to the back. Fernandez says it's a problem he began to deal with on his very first day on the job 2.5 years ago.
I walked into my office and I saw these telephone wires that were laying around the floor all over the rug. And I asked for the custodian to come up to clean the thing, and I was told that they don't vacuum it until next week. This is on schedule. Of course, I hit the ceiling.
Do the custodians paint?
Yeah. However, they only can paint up to 8 feet. Some of these things I'm going to tell you are going to sound ludicrous, but it's the reality.
8 feet?
It's a jurisdictional issue with the painters union.
I want to make sure that I've got my figures right, because we've been told that the average base salary for a custodian in New York City is $58,000 a year.
Yeah, that's the average, right?
Which is $20,000 more than a teacher makes.
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely correct. That's one of the problems I have.
That salary gap is not a problem for James Kelly, the custodian at Intermediate School 70 and the president of Local 891 of the International Union of Operating Engineers, the 1,000-member custodians local.
To compare us to teachers is a very unfair comparison.
Why?
It's not our fault to begin with that the Board of Education does not pay its teachers enough. But I think it's unfair to compare us to teachers. First of all, we work all year round. Teachers work about half the hours we do. So just in time alone, the hours we spend in the school building versus what a teacher or anybody else in the building other than us spends, there's a big difference there.
That's the justification for the $20,000 salary difference.
I would say so.
You think your men are underpaid?
Absolutely, of course.
Kelly blames the shape the schools are in on the Board of Education. He says it sets the cleaning schedule, not the union, and that custodians' work orders for major maintenance languish in the board's backed-up bureaucracy. But teachers, principals, and parents we talk to think that the custodians could be doing a lot of the work themselves.
The joke among the principals is when they die and they want to come back to Earth as custodians.
Reincarnate as a custodian, that's not a bad idea. I often tell the story when I first got here to New York and I went to visit a school in the South Bronx. It was a very nice school, very well done, but I walked into the front door and I saw this person in a suit, shirt, and tie, and I thought it was the principal. I went over and introduced myself. It was the head custodian with his own office and everything.
His own office often means his own secretary, and his own secretary often means his own wife, and an additional $25,000 to $30,000 in family income. While nepotism was banned in a rare contract reform, relatives and wives already on the payroll were grandfathered into their jobs. And today, according to school administrators, custodians simply get around the rule by hiring each other's wives.
There are custodians who have other custodians' wives working for them. That's correct.
Good practice?
Well, it's not so easy to find capable people all the time to do a particular job, so...
They hire their wives?
They can't hire
What you're
their
saying?
wives. They can't hire
They
their
can't,
wives.
so they hire someone else's wife. They hire one of their friends' wives.
Almost all married women are somebody else's wife, right?
It sounds like a pretty good job.
Yeah, I guess if you want to make a lot of money and you want to get some of your family working and you want to have a Jeep and a lot of other perks, it's a great job. Yeah,
Jeep?
Jeep. Yeah. The Board of Ed spends $1 million a year subsidizing the custodians' purchasing of Jeeps.
Why do they need a Jeep?
Well, Steve, you're not aware of this, I know, but according to the contract, New York City is in a snow belt, and we have a 5 out of 12 months are snow season. So the board spends 5 12s, buys 5 12s of the Jeep, and the custodian buys 7 12s, but after 5 years, guess who ends up owning the Jeep outright?
The custodian.
The custodian. Right.
How much money would it cost you to get a schoolyard plowed if it snowed? If you were going to go out and hire somebody to do it?
It'll cost you nothing, because in New York City, you wait till 3 o'clock that afternoon and it all melts.
Earlier this year, Chancellor Fernandez put a hold on buying new utility vehicles, no matter what brand everybody calls them Jeeps, by insisting that custodians get his personal approval before every purchase. It's a rule the Custodians Union expects to overturn in arbitration.
I may lose that, but at least we're fighting the good fight on this. If you speak to anybody out there, and they will tell you that the custodial contract has to be changed, that there are things in a custodial contract that can't stay in there any longer.
Fernandez isn't the first person to say that. The Women's City Club of New York said the same thing in this report, and that was back in 1942. Over the years, the Board of Education has been unwilling to take on the politically powerful union, and local principals have been afraid to take on individual custodians who run their schools as private fiefdoms.
You can go out and talk to principals, and if they're courageous enough, some of the principals will tell you is that they're afraid of giving the custodians a bad evaluation because they'll take it out on them in other ways in maintaining the building.
We took the chancellor's advice and tried to talk with some principals. We called more than 3 dozen. Plenty had tales to tell off the record, but not in front of our cameras. One principal who was willing to talk was later instructed to cancel her interview by her district superintendent. A matter of personal safety, he told her. 2 others said that they'd had their tires slashed after talking to reporters. Finally, we found one principal willing to speak out.
Gloria Rakovic at Brooklyn's High School of Telecommunications told us the biggest problem is the custodians don't work for the principal. She has no control over her school's maintenance schedule, budget, or custodial staff. The custodians answer only to a central maintenance office. Mrs. Rakovic says her present custodian does a good job, but in the past, she's been saddled with what she calls
the vanishing custodian. Recently I had one who was absent for 75 days out of the school year.
Which is what, 180 days?
180 days. So you're figuring you're almost at a 50% absentee rate. There are emergencies that happen in the building. The custodian is my technical consultant. I need that person. I depend on that person.
And you had one custodian that was here barely half the time?
That's right. Exactly.
Is the case of the vanishing custodian fairly common in New York City?
One of the issues at hand from colleagues that I hear about simply is, I don't know where my custodian is.
They may not know, but Ed Stanzik does. Stanzik, a former rackets prosecutor, is the independent special commissioner for investigation for New York schools.
There are people who conduct completely different careers outside the school on Board of Ed time. We have a custodian who's a charter pilot for hire, flying people around the country on Board of Ed time.
Owns his own plane.
That's right. We have another custodian who's a practicing real estate attorney. We got complaints from the principal he could never reach the custodian because he was in court. That's not the same thing as someone calling in sick so they can go fishing.
The overwhelming majority of custodians are right on site at all times. There are any number of reasons you have to go out, leave the building or leave the site to do a particular thing. But our men are on the jobs.
Mr. Kelly is apparently unfamiliar with William Ryan, New York school custodian. Mr. Ryan is custodian of a school administrative building in Brooklyn. On the day we followed him, one of the many days where Ed Stanzik's investigators followed him, he arrived at his building at 8:45. He left on errands twice in the morning, and by 11:45 he was gone for the day. After a leisurely lunch at a seaside restaurant, he was off to Long Beach, Long Island, and an afternoon aboard his 34-foot cabin cruiser. All of it on school time.
In the time that we've been watching him, at least half of that time, he's been outside the school working on his cabin cruiser while he should have been in school and was getting paid to be in school.
How many William Ryans are there out there?
I can't give you a number. I can't tell you that there's 100 or 200 William Ryans out there. I can tell you that as we've looked at the problem both historically up to the present day, the cases that we're doing, it's persistent enough problem that you can't just say it's a couple of bad apples.
But Stanczyk says vanishing custodians are only part of what his investigation has turned up. Remember those Jeeps? Well, like everything else the custodians pay for, from floor wax to computers,
the money for his salary, his workers' salaries, and his expenses comes payable to him personally. It typically goes into his personal checkbook with the money.
He gets a check from the city and he just puts it in his bank account?
That's right. And it gets mixed up with the money he uses to buy his groceries and make his car payments and everything else.
Is there any oversight at all?
There is oversight, but a system like that has many opportunities for someone with larceny in his heart to get around the controls.
In the last couple of years, you've had to cut $750 million out of your budget. You've had to do away with programs. You've had teachers' jobs on the line. Why can't you change this?
It's a matter of what's in the contract and what has to be implemented. We are looking, as I said, at the entire custodial contract. I would love to be able to pay teachers what we pay custodians.
Do you understand how ridiculous that sounds?
Of course it's ridiculous. Of course it's ridiculous.
And New York City's not alone. In many big cities across the country, more than half the school salary checks every month go to people other than teachers. In New York this week, there was a move to change that. As a result of the special commissioner's investigation, 3 school custodians, including our yachtsman, were arrested. 5 others will probably be fired. And those who aren't will, if all goes according to plan, from now on report to the principal. How does the president of the union feel about this? Well, he's no longer president of the union. He didn't get reelected.
All right. Common sense. You don't need to be working outside the school. 8 hours. That's it. I mean, if you're a practicing real estate agent and want to be a custodian, okay. But you can't be tied up in court with a dirty cafeteria. I mean, if you want to hire somebody else to fill in for you while you're in court, okay. Just let them know. Hey, my wife will be filling in for me because I gotta go to court. Find somebody else. I mean, there's like one school custodian who was fired. We'll give you his story next. Stay tuned. Okay. Finally, we're talking about school custodians. Here's one school custodian who, when we premiered our show, was fired. We never showed you this. Just watch.
So, what are your hours?
My hours is from 6:30 to 3 o'clock.
Okay. Why did you leave today at 2:45?
I didn't leave at 2:45.
You did.
I did not leave at 2:45.
We were calling you.
When I left,
What time do you think you left?
When I left, when I was leaving out that door.
What time do you think you left?
When I was leaving out that door, it
What
was
time do you think you left?
52 when I was going out that door.
Because you left early.
I didn't leave early because I was here early.
What time do you work till? What are your hours?
Miss Hoffman, the fire people that was here this morning was outside. They had to get in the building.
Stop talking. Jonathan, what are your hours? What are your hours? I just want to hear them again. What are they?
I told you my hours already.
Tell me again.
From 6:30 to 3 o'clock.
6:30 to 3 o'clock. Okay, and you left early today.
I didn't leave early.
Did you leave before 3 o'clock?
I left before 3 o'clock.
Okay, why?
For the simple fact I had to come in here this morning because the fire people was out there outside, sitting outside in their cars, and they had to get in the building to do the fire alarm.
Okay.
So I had to come in the building at 6:15. Miss Beckett, both of us came at the same time.
Who told you to come at 6:15?
It's not.
Who told you to come at
It's not.
6:15?
It's not that I wanted to come in at 6:15, Miss Hoffman. I was sitting outside, and the fire people was outside waiting in the car to get inside the
Then
building.
they wait. We are not open until 6:30.
So they wait. They have to wait until 6:30 to get inside the building to do the fire alarms.
If they don't have a key, the building is not open until 6:30. You don't adjust your hours just because you feel like it.
I didn't do it because I felt like it, Miss Hoffman. I was
You
doing it
did.
to help the fire people to get inside the
Who told you
building.
to open the building early? Did your boss, Susan Opferman, tell you to start your hours early today?
I was not supposed to start my hours early today, but like I was telling you, the fire people had to get inside. They were sitting
Who
out
is
there
your
for almost an
boss?
hour.
Who is your boss? Is your boss Susan Opferman or the fire marshal? Who is your boss?
Miss Hoffman, you was my boss.
Okay.
I never
So what are
said
your
you was my
hours?
boss. I explained my hours.
6:30 to 3.
Yes.
Okay, and we needed you at 2:45, and we're calling you on the walkie, and I called you on the phone finally because nobody could find you, and the guy
I
said
had
you left
just
early.
left. No, I did not leave early. I had just left.
Jonathan,
They said that. I
You
had just left.
Jonathan, if you left before 3 o'clock, you left early. You left before your shift was done.
So let me explain this to you. From yesterday when we had the meeting, I didn't get out of here until 3:15
Why?
because you had us in the meeting.
No, I finished on time.
No, it was not. When I left out that door,
I finished.
that's the time. That's the time I left out
on
that
time
door.
yesterday.
Okay.
I did. I made it a point to finish on time yesterday because I do not want to keep you past your hours.
It was when I left out the building, Miss Hoffman. It was past 3 o'clock.
I don't know what you were doing between when you left that room at 3 o'clock to when you left this building.
Okay.
But I did not give you permission to leave early today. You left before your shift was over. You left before your shift was completed. Your shift finishes at 3 o'clock. And you left before 3 o'clock without permission. Do you understand that?
I understand.
Okay. I have to call HR. I just want you to know that.
Okay. And what?
I don't know. I'm going to see what they say. Because you have.
Because I left.
Because you left
10 minutes before the time that I was
15 minutes
in early. I mean.
No one asked you to come in early. No one asked you to come in early.
I don't understand.
You are not supposed to open this building until 6:30. Your shift starts at 6:30.
I understand that. But like I said, I had to make the adjustment because they were sitting outside in their cars trying to get in.
You did not have to make the adjustment. The only one that changes your schedule is me. The only person that gives permission for your schedule to be different from 6:30 to 3 is me. They are not your boss. I am very upset that you did not work your full shift today.
Okay, so if this is going to be on me, you might as well get everybody else that leave the same time or leave early then too. Because it's a lot more people doing that, just me. It seems like I'm being picked out.
Well, we needed you
Every
today.
time it's Hoffman, you always picking me out the bunch.
Jonathan,
It seems like you're harassing me right now. You seem like I'm being harassed because it's every time I come in here,
You're not being harassed.
I'm always in the meetings with you, and you always seem to be yelling and screaming at me, always telling me this, that, and the third, and it's getting to that frustration point.
Jonathan, I am not harassing you.
Yes, you are, Miss Hoffman. Yes, you are. Oh, you are harassing me.
Okay, we're finished.
You are, Miss Hoffman.
We're finished.
Every time I come into this meeting with you, it's always something I'm doing. But what about everybody else and everybody else is doing?
This meeting's done. Please stop yelling at me.
I'm not yelling. I'm just voicing my frustration because just like you frustrated with me, I'm frustrated too.
I'm frustrated that you left before your 3 o'clock shift was over and this meeting is finished.
But you don't understand the fact that I was here.
The 10 minutes that you left early are now done. The 10 minutes that you owed the school are now finished. So, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll let you know what HR says.
Okay.
At 6:30.
Okay.
6:30 to 3 tomorrow, like every day.
No problem. Hey there, baby. Yeah.
I'm starved.
It would be in the same bag. So when's the last time you
you took your inhaler? I don't have your space here. I don't. Okay, definitely good.
Okay.
So now you do know how to take this. When was the last time you took it?
Okay. Probably in future references, we're gonna hear more from this guy. That's gonna be our season 7. When we start season 7, so our premiere week, we're gonna hear from this guy. But I have something special planned, but I'm not gonna reveal too much. That's gonna be Rick for now. Join all of us on YouTube next time for another edition to Give Me a Break. Thanks for watching.